Hey, it's Gary King here again, doing another podcast with my friend Sarah. Sarah's going to talk a bit about things to do with her work-related subjects, natural health, germ theory, and stuff like that. And then some of the things that we've been doing a bit of investigation in over the week. The Tuskegee Experiment in 1932 to 1972 in the US Public Health Service, and basically what went wrong there. And then that takes us into how the British government subjected thousands of people to chemical and biological warfare trials during the Cold War, the independent, and the same in the US. Very interesting how US government experiments on children during the Cold War, all documented, all freedom of information, and then all brought forward sort of in the 90s with big apologies. And of course this is all to do with, should you trust your government or these health organisations or not? Well, we obviously know that that is a big no-no. You cannot trust these people, period. And then we're going to look at just a few other little subjects. The Mandela effect, something that we've looked into and actually did an experiment on and found out that it's pretty much 100% correct. Underground tunnels all over the US, D.U.M.Bs, deep underground military bases, the Svalbard seed vault and various other seed vaults around the world, and the Crop Trust, plus some other bits and pieces that are quite amusing. I'd like to thank for the work that they've done, as usual, Dom and Chris from Sheep Farm Studios, and MrE Apocalypse Watchman, we came across some time ago, but some really good stuff on there. He's very funny as well, so we found this very entertaining and found out some useful information about what is planned for everybody. So here we go. Here I am with my mate Sarah. So anyway, it's not really podcast number 4 because we did one in 2 pieces, but I'll call it number 4. We're going to do this is our podcast number 4, and yeah. I'm here with my mate Sarah. All right. Bonjour, madame. I have to say that
Bonjour.
now.
Bonjour, monsieur. I've been practicing.
Comment ça va?
Oui, ça va.
Oui, ça va.
Oui, ça va. Et tu?
Oh, merci, oui. Le même. Le même. The same.
That's about it.
That's about it, yeah. So anyway, so we had a good old chat the other day about various things, slightly recapped the crisis people and various events. And I actually had a friend come yesterday, and she she listened to our podcast and found it very amusing and informative. Good. And she clocked the pictures of the London Bridge, the whatever bridge it is, and she just said, come on. It's the same as us. Yeah. She just said, what a setup, total setup. So it was good to see that somebody else had seen that as well. We made some notes over the week, didn't we, for today?
We have. Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty. We've got about 12 hours of material, I think, haven't we?
It's just crazy, isn't it? Because the other people that we sort of listen to and follow, there is so much going on and so much information out there. It's really difficult to put it together in anything that kind of follows, isn't it? But what we're going to look at today is Sarah was talking to me the other day about a couple of things that she wanted to bring to the table, which she'll tell you about in a minute. And then we're going to follow it with a couple of things that we've been looking at. One is the Tuskegee.
Have you got your teeth in?
Tuskegee, yeah. Hang on, put my teeth in. The Tuskegee experiments in America, in the US. We're going to look at that, and there's a reason that we're looking at that. 1932 to 1972. We're going to look at that. Uh-huh. We're going to look at, just briefly, some information of what various governments, i.e. the UK and the US, have done to the public over the years, and admittance under the Freedom of Information Act. Now, some of these things could be false, we don't know. They could just make this stuff up to wind people up. But anyway, so we're going to look at that, and then we're going to have a quick look at these giant tunnels and underground bases. Because because that's all relevant. Again, it's all stuff that's going on behind the scenes, which we know is not good
Yeah.
for us. And then we're going to look at a little bit the Mandela effect, thanks to John from
Yeah.
Awaken, because we tested it, and sure enough, we found out that indeed there is something going on. We're just going to have a yak about some other bits and pieces, including seed banks, where they're hiding away all this grain and seed and so on, but obviously not for us. So we're going to look at that. So anyway,
bit of everything.
Sarah's going to she's going to talk a little bit about some stuff here, which I thought was very relevant. So over to you, mate. Over to you.
Well, it's probably stuff that a lot of us have already kind of looked into a little bit and learning about. It's the whole germ theory thing, and it does get me really, really thinking. And I listened to loads of stuff about this. Well, the germ theory hoax, should I say, which is the reason they were able to, for COVID to go live, really, because they needed to make sure that people believed that in contagion and that there are these invisible deadly pathogens that we pass to one another. So they could play out, COVID, really, and get everybody anti-socially distancing from one another and all the rest of it. So I just thought I'd explain a little bit about how it all began. I listened to lots of stuff on this, and there's people that can explain it far, far better than I can. People like Tom Cowan, Amanda Vollmer, Stefan Lanko, Sam Bailey and her husband, I can't remember his name now, but they do lots and lots and lots of stuff on explaining basically all the virus, the myths surrounding all the contagion theory. But I think it's kind of, and you might have looked into this already, Gary, but the way the whole terrain versus germ theory began, there were two guys, Antoine Béchamp, whether I've said that properly, he was the terrain theory guy, and the germ theory guy was Louis Pasteur. And these were both researchers, I think the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they both had different theories on what caused disease. Louis Pasteur was the whole kind of, there's an outside pathogen that's causing basically all disease, and that's what that's what causes it. Whereas Béchamp, it was all about the terrain, and basically your internal environment is what triggers disease. And of course, it was Louis Pasteur's theory, and it's only ever a theory, and you can look into this. There's so much info on it. It's really interesting. His theory was the one that won because it obviously had political ties and
backing and
also, and the Rockefeller, the School of Medicine, the Rockefeller and all the rest of it. And it backs up all the pharmaceuticals, because if there are these outside invaders going on and all the rest of it that you need protecting against, it backs up the whole of the pharmaceutical industry and all the money-making business of creating customers. And once you're really in their system, it's very, very difficult to get out, and people are reliant on a lot of these medications. Whereas if you believe that actually disease is caused and it's internally, and it's what you're putting in your body nutrition-wise, the air, the water, how you're breathing, not just that, but relationships, everything in your life, basically, mentally, physically, spiritually, everything that you've got going on is really the cause of disease. Well, there's no money to be made in that, is there? If you can rectify that, and if you can work on that.
Well, that's why so many of these people have been shut down, isn't it? Because they don't want people going over to, let's not even call it alternative, but going over to a natural way of doing things. Because if everybody followed that, they wouldn't be able to buy yachts anymore, would they?
No, this is it. And they wouldn't be creating their customers. They wouldn't have everybody. Again, it's the fear, isn't it? The fear, the reliance on the beast systems, the control, and all the rest of it. So on his deathbed, the old Pasteur did say, apparently, whether it was, whether this is, again, you never know what's true and what isn't. But he said that Beauchamp was right. The pathogen is nothing. The terrain is everything. Apparently admitted it. And all of your medical schools are all trained in germ theory. So all of your doctors, all of your, I was, and it's, so everybody that's working in them systems, they're actually believing that narrative. They're believing it. But when you look, it's never, ever about curing. It's just always treatment and managing symptoms. And I've gone that far to look into it. And I think you have to look at yourself first. And I've had to look at myself, maybe conditions that I was given, labels that maybe I was given over the years about different things. You kind of have to go through a load of shit, I think, to come out the other end and actually look at yourself and think none of that was right. And have a bit of a healing journey yourself, I think, to really get this and discover it. That's my thoughts on it. None of it sits right with me, none of it. Whereas the terrain, it all completely sits right. And it's hard work, if you really want to heal yourself, because it is yourself that heals yourself. It's not anybody else ever doing anything. The outsourcing thing is all the beast system again, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to look at everything, really examine everything about your life and what you're doing and why you're getting certain symptoms, whether it's, it could be physical, it could be mental health symptoms. I noticed John has put something today on his Awaken chat from Dr. Kelly Brogan, which is bang on, about the whole psychiatric system and everything. You've got to kind of go through an awakening, I think, to truly heal yourself and to truly understand the terrain theory, because otherwise you're just going to cling on to the other system and the other ways that aren't healing anyone. They're just creating customers.
Yeah.
And it's a harsh reality, because then you've got to have a look and think, actually, maybe they did this to my relative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
too much hard
hard
work
one
for people, isn't it? This is the thing. It's just like, it's that can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. It's too much hard work if you ask a lot of people to have a look at these things. But it's funny what you just mentioned about John, again, on, I can never remember I should write these people's names down, but on Chris and Dom and Chris Sheep Farm, they had a guy who'd worked in the system, with people with extreme schizophrenia, American guy, and he'd worked in the system, and he was saying that he worked it's like a city, and nobody ever asked the question, what were the voices saying? All they dobbed them as was nutters and drugged them up to suppress them. And that's exactly what you were just saying, is that, there's so much more to it. And yet that was the way to deal with them. Oh, they're obviously a nut job. Now, one of the things that I thought was funny was when you looked at these massive asylums that were all around in sort of like the 1850s, literally small cities, there was a list of things that could end up putting you in an asylum, right? And one of them was being over-intelligent, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of things, everyday things they would lock you up for. Can you imagine with these nut jobs and what they're up to today and all this other stuff we're going to talk about a little bit later? They'd lock them all up, wouldn't they? Because I mean...
I know.
What did you do? Locked him up because he could read. He could add up. Lock him away.
Well, I've really reflected on all that, because when I was growing up, my grandma had the diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. I also, at the beginning of my career, I did a bit of time working on psychiatric units with people that were manically depressed, paranoid schizophrenia. So I used to kind of listen to all like their symptoms and different things that were going on and all of that, and the hearing voices and all of that, and listen to my grandma about it, and watching her really. And as I've obviously progressed and got older and everything else, and then having an awakening and all the rest of it, putting it all together is definitely, it's like they're having trauma responses from their childhood. I mean, some of the stuff that my grandma, she was Irish, and she had a bit of a tough upbringing in Ireland, and when she was having these manic phases that people were just, she's gone mad again. When I was younger, I was really listening to what she was saying. The things she was saying were basically pretty dark stuff that she'd not processed really from her childhood. Hence then this was coming out in like manifesting in a mental illness. So what do? They just want to drug you up, don't they? And suppress it
calm you down, suppress it. Yeah, exactly.
Rather than allow it out and allow that person to properly heal from, whatever they've experienced. And it goes so deep. And who knows? I mean, are these people as well tapping into other realms or the darkness that are tapping onto them because they're so distressed? There's so much, but of course big pharma and that aren't going to go anywhere near saying, or the psychiatric systems aren't going to go anywhere near saying that's what it could be. They just want to give you a drug, keep you quiet, and the drug always has even worse side effects than actually what you're ever going to be experiencing. You look at the side effects on all of those medications and they're worse than actually what they're treating.
In the States especially, I mean, they advertise drugs on television. If you've got this problem, take this. And then at the very end, the guy always says really, really fast, may cause blah, 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 blah. It goes through this big, long list. And there's a comedian called Ismo, who's very funny, from Finland. And he does a little sketch on side effects. And apparently it's he's watching the telly and he goes, he can hear this advert in the background, may cause side effects of...
like pharmaceutical commercials. And then half of the pharmaceutical commercial is the side effects. So when you're watching TV, you're mostly hearing about side effects. And I don't think that's the best way to spend time.
It's dead funny.
Any excuse.
All these things, they throw it out at you about these side effects, right? And the reason that they do that, obviously, is because they then say, well, we told you, it's not our fault you took it and your leg fell off.
Can't sue them then, can you? Or
no, exactly. Exactly. There's more side effects than the so-called cure.
Oh, my gosh. Every time, I mean... when you think of the amount of people that are in this world since the whole COVID as well, that are now depressed, even people that are not, probably people that aren't awake to it all, but they're depressed because of everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
What have they been given? They've been given antidepressants out like sweeties from GPs. And what's the biggest side effect of all these antidepressants? Suicide. Straight on the side effects.
Of course it is.
And, I've dealt with people that I know maybe that have come to me in a conversation because they know kind of like the work that I'm in and admitted what's going on with them, and they've took this and then they've got this side effect. And I've just talked to them and said, it's just, everything that you've experienced is a normal response to this world and what you're going through. Those drugs are just not going to do you any good. But no, people seem to, of late, I've noticed, everybody that knows me, even at work where I'm supposed to be plugged into the bullshit, but it's quite obvious I'm not. I'm just always banging on about natural health and pointing out, about the side effects of meds and all that. And they do nod, they listen and all the rest of it. So when somebody then gets himself in a bit of bother, I am the one that they ring and get some advice from.
That's good.
And,
positive, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just kind of like bring it back to reality and say that this is normal. And also, so people know we all go through shit like this. Everybody's had suicidal thoughts at some point in their life. Honestly, it's a lie if they say they don't. This world is designed to be stressful. It's set up in that way. And it's not until you unplug yourself from the bloody matrix and can see through it all that it actually becomes far less stressful, because you don't sweat the small stuff. You know how to take care of yourself, your body and all of that. If you're on this journey properly, like you're on it, you don't stress all those things anymore. And when you start kind of getting it, but most people are plugged into the matrix, aren't they? And it's sad.
Yeah.
I find it so sad watching everybody kind of, watching them fall apart, watching them get involved in drama that's just unnecessary.
Well, do you think as well, obviously we've said about television programming. That's why they're called television programs. there's been this massive push over the last 10 years especially on films like Contagion, all pushing this thing that, you could catch anything at any time because Dustin Hoffman said so, or whatever, right? And it's just like one film after another. And I have to admit, I like some of these films, you know. Like I said in our podcast, Army of the Dead was just hilarious. It's brilliant, you know. I like a good, good zombie movie with guns and stuff now and again, right? But they've been pushing this, push. Yeah, exactly. I need to know how to deal with them, right? I know that you've always got to go for the head. You've always got to go for the head. Don't shoot at the body. It's pointless. See these people shooting at the body. It's like, have you learnt nothing? You're wasting ammunition.
Straight between the eyes.
Got to shoot that, right? But you look at these films that keep coming out, and I think I told you that Disney's just made I thought it was a cartoon, and I put it on the other day to see what I could find in this. It was so appallingly bad. It was like a really bad version of Grease.
Yeah.
Meets High School Nightmare or whatever. And what it is it's these zombie kids at school who've become friends with the regular kids. And they turn into zombies every now and again, and they're really good at football, American football and stuff like that. And it was just appallingly bad. And then these so-called aliens turn up, right? And it's a Disney film, so we don't really have to go too far. Just mention Disney, right? But they're making all these films.
How wholesome being Disney.
Yeah,
that's what everyone thinks. It's so wholesome, Disney. Let's all go to Disneyland.
Well,
that's another story.
We'll mention Disney in a minute to do with this Mandela thing, which is absolutely brilliant, I think. But anyway, this film is just like, not only is it incredibly grim beyond belief, but you see all these more and more and more of this stuff being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for people, like you said when we talked the other day. You were talking about people soaking this stuff up and actually thinking about it and manifesting it into reality. Yeah. Whereas I don't do that. I just watch it because I like watching people shooting other things' heads off, thinking to myself, I know a few people I'd like to do that too, right? But there was another series. They brought another series out. This is another series. It's got an English bloke in it. He was in a TV series called Misfits. Do you remember that one? Where they're like...
Heard of it. Who was in it?
It's an English... I can't remember his name. He's a curly-headed, slim guy, and I think there's a black girl in it. She's got some kind of power. He's it's like they're vampires and all this kind of stuff. They don't realise they've got superpowers. They wear orange jumpsuits, overalls. I think they're in a detention centre type of thing, like a naughty...
I can remember it briefly.
Yeah, well, anyway, this guy's in this thing. I can't remember what it's called now. And the cover for I presume it's for kids, young people and that. Yeah. It's got the old hypnotic paedophile spiral. It's the backdrop. And they're all sitting there with their sunglasses on, and he's peering over the top and doing the old shh with the finger over the mouth and all this kind of stuff. And apparently they're a group of superheroes that don't know they're superheroes. Same sort of story again. But all that symbology has been thrown in there again. Yeah. So like with the medical stuff and that, these people are being indoctrinated with the ideas of this is what could happen and is happening type of thing, aren't they? And it goes back to that medical thing that you were just talking about, that if they keep pushing this on people think that this is the only way out, don't they?
Of course they do. They don't. We've been so heavily programmed to think that is what health is, and that you should go to your doctor, you have any symptom, and it's disease, and it's this, and it's that, where actually the truth is all symptoms are healing responses in your body. It goes as simple as that. And it's just like nature. When you look out at nature, the leaves drop from the trees and all the rest of it. And what do? They come back stronger every season, that's how it works. And we are like nature. But of course, the elites, they like to demonise nature, don't they? A lot. Nature's spreading stuff. And if we just simplify it, that everything is a healing response, and that your body is that's how we're designed to heal. When you think of how much is thrown at your body and how much it's abused, but it just keeps on keeping you here, it keeps on healing, it keeps on adapting. Even if you don't treat it right, it's still healing. Again, it's that inverted thing. It's the opposite of what we've been shown. The only experiment you can ever do of whether that is true or not is on yourself. And I've done it, and I've looked at myself and I've thought, it's absolutely true. It really is absolutely true. But you've got to believe it as well. You've got to have the mind and the heart to believe all that and be strong enough to resist the other side, which you've been programmed into since the day you were born, to actually and truly believe it for it to happen. That's why there's placebos.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you know, the funny thing is here. I mean, you know where we live. And we're in the middle of on a farm in the middle of a forest. You know, and there are houses around and stuff like that. But like 16 years ago, we got here, and I didn't even realise what was around me. I didn't look. You know, I was so wrapped up in music and drums and all this rubbish. What I'm trying to say is that it was all that, it was nothing else. And then you suddenly realise there's a lot more around you than just that. So you can then blend the two things together, right? And make more of your day than just sitting here trying to, you know, let's see if we can get a record on the radio, which we've done actually. So, but anyway, but all of a sudden, I remember one spring looking out and I suddenly was aware of the leaves popping on the trees. And I don't think I'd ever seen it before. And the green was so intense, and I started soaking it up. And then every year now I see it and I wait for it, and I'm like, it's a great time. It's my favourite time of the year is the spring. And we've had all these new spring flowers appear that we've never seen before. Something happened in 2020 that helped these spring flowers grow. I don't know what it was, but they're everywhere, and we'd never seen them before. But one of the things that I did, and I would urge anybody to do, if you can, is just go out into the woods somewhere, or, you know, out into the country and just sit and listen. Turn your fucking phone off. Turn your fucking phone off, right? Leave it in the car or something, you know.
I know.
And
it's healing,
sit
isn't it?
and listen.
Massively healing.
And I even did the old, I mean, I'm not a tree hugger or anything like that, but I even did I took my boots and socks off and I sat on this stone with my feet in this moss that was on the ground. You know, there's obviously on the ground, but moss. Big, we have very, very thick banks of moss here. And I sat there and I put my foot, it felt like carpet, and I just sat there and just listened for like 20 minutes sort of thing. And you really do feel that's as close as you're going to get to bonding with what is around you. And we're lucky to be able to do that. And you are where you are as well, because you're not very far from the country. That video you sent me, you can get out there and all that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I've got loads of countryside around me. I'm on foot as well. 2-minute walk to at the back of my fields that are all like a nature reserve. So with all wildflowers and everything, I've got so much greenery around me. So I try and get out every day. Just sit in the field, have 5 minutes. I used to get out more because when my dog was more mobile, but now I have to push him in a pushchair now. So it's not so easy to push him up the hill around the nature reserve in a pushchair. But that's no excuse. But I've always done it, and I've always thought, right, take in the sounds, the smells, the colours, the textures. And how much better do you feel mentally, physically, everything?
Well, of course, this is one of the reasons why these nut jobs want to push, these
psychopaths.
Why they want to push everybody into so-called smart cities under the guise of climate change.
Yes,
they don't want people living in the country,
connecting with nature.
You know, Prince Charles and you and your bunch of we don't really need to use words. People that know about all that know exactly what to call them. But that, you know, meanwhile they want to live in the country themselves. But that's why they want to push you out of the country into these prison cities, which is basically what it is, to stop you from being connected with everything that is around you. You know, you cannot really connect yourself with a concrete skyscraper, not really. So that is part of that thing, but. Again, like you said, is you start putting these things together, and you start to realise that it's down to you, isn't it, as the individual? It's down to you to be able to, like you say, look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, what do I need to do? I know there's something not right. What do I need to do? What do I need to look at? How do I need to feel to change that?
Yeah. Because your body whispers to you, your mind whispers to you. If there's something that you can't manage, it will tell you. If you're going into an environment that you can't manage, or it will whisper to you with certain symptoms. It's not got to be like massive pain at first, but it just be like little symptoms. And if you sit with that and listen to it, rather than just go and buy something off Amazon or whatever to make yourself feel better.
Oh yeah, shopping makes me feel better.
Facebook.
Shoes always cheers me
through
up.
Facebook
40 pairs of shoes.
Shit. Yeah, exactly. If you actually sit with it, you go out, go and take yourself out there, go and connect out there with nature, and just feel that. That is what's you're probably yearning for, really, that connection and that what truth is. Most people are so disconnected from that now, aren't they? They don't know what truth is. They don't know themselves. They don't know what they're doing. They're so lost, and it's so, so sad. But truth is just simple. It's simplicity. That's where it's at.
Well, it's always easy, isn't it, for things to be made complicated when they're simple as... it's that obvious, but it's so easy to make it complicated so people can't get their heads around it. I was asking you earlier, before we started this, what is it that makes us think different to other people? Why are we looking into all this and understanding? I mean, I'm not saying we're 100% right again or whatever, but what is it that makes us and a lot of other people think this way, as opposed to the ones that think the opposite way and go along with this nonsense?
It's a massive one to answer, isn't it? And
I think you nailed it when you told me before. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you want me to go on soul level and all of that? Should I go that deep? That deep? Or just...
Don't start singing any James Brown, though, will you?
No, you don't want to hear me
Not that
sing.
soul level.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think, again, with the whole awakening process and my sort of observations of people around me that are becoming awake or slightly awake, or so many different layers and levels to all of this. And it depends, I think, people that have gone maybe as far as we have into understanding that basically everything is a lie. You've kind of had to look at the lies that you tell yourself, I think. And be brave enough to stare all that in the face, brave enough to walk through, because if you start aligning with truth, everything else that's fake will just basically go up in flames. And you have to be prepared for that, don't you? You have to be prepared and strong enough to take that. And I understand why some people will turn back, because it's too painful. Not maybe this is your favourite word, Gary, but not everyone can be badass, can they?
Not everybody can be as brilliant as Yao.
Oh, ditto. And but I think the more you go along, the braver you get. Yeah. And then you know that you're going to meet other badass people along the way, and you have to have faith in that. That, even though some people you will lose along the way, old friends, new friends, and you've got to be prepared to think, well, this is my own journey, and you've got to keep going if you're on it. But if you want to go like soul level, I do think whether it's I don't proclaim to know everything that's real and what happens in the afterlife or what happened before, but I do wonder if there's like a soul level agreement where you've kind of been around, you've been back and forth in your soul or whatever a few times, and you're ready for this. You're ready to be
different levels, different realms, whatever.
Different levels, yeah. Whether that's something, and maybe some people the agreement is that they're not supposed to wake up, and that's brave too. That they've almost like sacrificed themselves to allow other people to wake up, maybe. I don't know. It's complex, isn't it?
Well, you said, like it's very well documented. All these things that we sort of bringing up are well documented. It's not like we're making it up. We've not read about it. But if you
sounds like it.
Yeah, if you go into the whole reincarnation thing. Yeah. I mean, John was saying about the different levels that we go through and what level we're on now and how do we get to the next level and so on. And as you said, if you don't learn along the way, you're going to basically pretty much have to go back and do it again.
Do it all again. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's like, oh, God. Or except, it'd be I'll come back as a slug, and I'll be, and I'll suddenly appear and think, what's going on here? And then there's someone will tip salt on me, and that'll be the end of that sort of thing. And I'm like, no.
Bloody
Damn
hell.
it. But it does make you think that we're here to make mistakes. We're supposed to make lots of mistakes. If you can't make any mistakes, you can't fix things, and you can't learn. You're never going to learn.
No.
And what you said about that, I think, again, I don't think it's so much to do with, as we've said before, about people being brainwashed by devices and things. I mean, we know that actually happens, but it really is about your own consciousness. And I know that word, if you're unconscious, knocked out, you don't know what's going on, right? And if you're conscious, you wake up, you're conscious, you know what's going on around you, even in an accident sort of situation. But our consciousness is different. It's changed to that of perhaps some other people, and maybe it's not their time yet, or maybe they're going through a different stage where they're having to relive something. But to us, to me, to my mum, to various other people that we know, to you, it's so obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that obvious. There's no way that we would turn around and go, ooh, I don't know about that. We go, no, it is so obvious. It's there in black and white, isn't it?
Yeah. The truth is so blinding now, isn't it? Whereas we could not be persuaded of any otherwise. Whereas people that aren't awake, they don't know what truth is, do they?
Well, you were saying about people that that are like 3/4 of the way there, but then they dismiss the ones that are actually the most important, perhaps, and that much more obvious. You can't, as I said to you, you can't be in between. You're either that side or you're that side, right? And you don't condemn anybody for being either side, but you cannot have this. You might have this little in-between stage for a brief amount of time.
While you're learning.
But once you pick up 4 or 5 of these things, you got to go the whole hog, and you got to soak up the whole thing, haven't you?
Absolutely. I think you've got to go all in once you can. Otherwise, that middle ground is a bit of a dangerous place, isn't it? It's a bit of a stressful place, a dangerous place. But once you go all in, it's pretty cool, isn't it? 'Cause it's just like, everything's soaking up then, isn't it? And the truth just keeps being shown to you. You don't even have to go looking. You don't have to look.
No, it's amazing that once you start pulling up some information, and a lot of it's been put out there for you to look at purposely. You just think to yourself, well, this is going to take a week just to make a thing about this, because there's so much that links to one thing, links to another, links to another, and links to another, as you've said. And it's like when I was doing my yellow and blue flag waving nonsense, I ended up ditching that video, which I spent a long time on, simply because every time I looked at something else, there was something else to add, and I thought this is going to be as long as a series of movies. So we did our little bit about it, which I think got a point across in our last session, and so on. But from the health point of view, we pulled up, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up, and lots of people know about this. Sarah's sort of mentioned about the obvious big pharma, the poisoning, the constant poisoning, the constantly keeping people sick so that they can continue to do their thing and continue to make billions of dollars. We pulled up a thing here, and it's the I can't say it, Sarah. Tuskegee. It's the Tuskegee Experiment. Tuskegee Experiment. Now, I'll put some information up in this, some pictures from Wiki. The reason for bringing this subject up isn't to do with the actual study itself. Sarah's got her opinions about it, and what she talked about earlier on actually falls in line with all of this. But the reason that we wanted to bring this up is because I don't know about you, mate, but I get a bit sick and tired of hearing from certain people about trust the science and trust your government.
Trust the science. Yeah. Trust the science.
What's that comedian's name? So when you have a look at what, and I'm sure it's all over the world, of course it is, but you look at what the UK government...
Trust the Masons.
Yeah. Yeah, not the blokes that build stone buildings, the ones with the funny handshakes. When you look at what various governments and Ministry of Defence has done to people and admitted it, mass poisoning and so on, for people to turn round and say, well, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that now. That was years ago. Well, if they did it then, you can guarantee they're doing it now, which of course we know they are without going into it too deep. But anyway, we pulled up the Tuskegee study of untreated blah, 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 right? And this was an event that took place by the United States Public Health Service. What a wonderful organisation they are.
Yeah.
So when we look
for
at
the
their...
greater good.
Yeah, 1798, and you look at their little logo, it's got an anchor on it for some reason. I don't know why it's got an anchor on it, but of course they've got the wings. They got the wings in there, and they got the two serpents sliding up the pole, which you will see on the WHO and the World, the UN. Sorry, not the World, the UN. All that stuff. It's all the same. It's all under the same heading. So anyway, and the CDC, wonderful CDC, those bunch of overpaid criminals. And they did an experiment.
That's what they are, isn't it?
Yeah, they did an experiment on 400 plus African Americans in 1932. And basically what they did was they let these guys die, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because in the article there's a lot of sixes in this. Lots of sixes appear. But anyway.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence, yeah. So anyway, this was a major violation to the ethical standards. Well, we know there are no ethical standards anymore. They've taken all that away. So the United States Department of Health and Human Services, blah, 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 blah. In 1997, Bill Clinton formally apologised on behalf of the United States to victims of the study, calling it shameful and racist. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence, he said. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of the American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry. Let's roll forward to 2020, shall we, and ask the same question to these lunatics. Well, of course, we know why they're doing all this right now, because it's got nothing to do with your health, right? And the same as this was nothing to do with health. So when you go on to, you go out of that and you go on to, now, this was the American Health Organization, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They did this in conjunction with Tuskegee University. So I thought, let's have a little look at Tuskegee University, see what these cats are all about.
Yeah.
Established in 1881. And you haven't got to look through very far to find out, so this guy that started this, he's a African-American. He goes by the name of Washington. Where is he? And of course, as you go through and find out a little bit more about these people, you find out that, here we go, surprise, surprise. This guy here was a Prince Hall Freemason. Oh, there you go. So as we start clocking down through this information here, it says here, provided as spokesman for black industrial education, Washington developed a network of wealthy American philanthropists. We love those characters, don't we?
They're always philanthropists, aren't they?
Yeah. Who donate
all for the greater good.
For the greater good.
Doing the great stuff for the world.
Who donated to the school. Yeah. There's just a couple of your classics. Andrew Carnegie. We know all about him. And, of course, good old John D. Rockefeller once again. There he is. There he is, the man with the plan. Right? And so, you know, to me, this particular school was, again, to start indoctrinating African Americans, right? Because they've got to do it with everybody, right? So, according to the wiki on the actual school itself, and I thought this was written better than actually on the Tuskegee wiki page with the full information. It says, Tuskegee Institute collaborated with the United States government in this experiment, which the effects of deliberately untreated disease was studied. And they actually told these guys that they were going to treat them, but they didn't. These experiments have become infamous for deceiving study participants, poor African American men, both by not telling them that they had latent do-de-do and by pretending to give them medical care. In fact, researchers were not only monitoring the progression of the so-called disease, but deliberating the disease to leave its victims with permanent neurological damage and horrific scars.
Yeah.
One of the solutions for this kind of thing was discovered in 1927, but however was not used in the treatment of these men. And it had become the gold standard in treatment and often required a simple dose to eliminate this disease. The researchers were well aware of this information in order to continue their experiments. They chose to withhold the life-saving treatment. The researchers proceeded to actively deter study participants from obtaining so-called cure from other physicians. The patients were told that they had bad blood. An experiment was conducted by the US Public Health Service in collaboration with the Institute. This was in direct violation of the Hippocratic Oath. However, not a single researcher nor university was legally punished. Well, there you go. And that's why they've now written into all these political documents that it doesn't matter whether the people leave, whether they're fired, whether they're disgraced, none of them will go to jail. I know what we could do to these people, but then I'd probably be called some kind of terrorist for even suggesting chucking them in the back of a van and taking them up into the mountains and leaving them naked on top of a frozen mountain top. Academic research has shown that the study had long-term damaging effects on black men's health and contributed to mistrust of medical professionals among many black men, right? So, like I said, the point of that, whether you believe in transmittable diseases or whatever, the point of bringing it up was the fact that if they did that kind of thing then, and that's up to 1972, I was born in 1965, so not that long ago, you could see that these people they're quite happy to do this. Now, old Billy Boy Clinton, the old Mr. Cigar here, the 8 surviving men of this study are living links to a time not so very long ago that many Americans would prefer not to remember. But we dare not forget. It was a time when our nation failed to live up to its ideals, when our nation broke the trust of the people. The trust. Let's ask, does anybody trust these people now? They can't trust these people. Right?
No.
And he goes, blah, blah, blah. It's not only remembering the shameful past that we can make amends and repair our nation, but remembering the past that we can build better present and better future. And without remembering, we cannot make amends and we cannot go forward. Basically, the government is a disgrace. And everybody in it and everybody behind it. And that includes the secretaries, the paper boy, the mailroom people. All you people that work for these organisations are a disgrace. That's what I think. And you will all pay for it eventually, one form or another. Anyway, enough of my macho speech there. But see what how Sarah thinks about the old that particular thing that we brought up.
Well, when they put out these studies and then they hold their hands up, again, I mean, it's just showing you, I mean, they're always carrying out these different studies in one way or another under the guise of the greater good on humanity. And every now and then they like to hold their hands up and say, oh, look, we did wrong. And in some ways, I think it's to show, oh, actually, look, sometimes we can be held accountable in these systems. But, you know, it just shows you that they admit to it. Why would people then ever trust these people when they know that this is what goes on? They admit to it. They did it with tobacco. They did it with thalidomide.
Asbestos.
Just showing you, I think, asbestos. I think it's just showing you, actually, that they, in some ways, on the kind of the dark elites kind of mindset, that getting your agreements for them
consent,
to carry out
isn't
stuff,
it? You're giving your consent.
Yeah, because they've told you, they've admitted that they do these unnecessary studies on people, but you're still going along with it, kind of thing. And I'm sure there's.
Yeah, Don was saying when you mentioned the tobacco thing, I mean, I mean, they just all smoke over here. It's just ugh, just turns me up. It does. But these packets here, they've got dead people lying on the packets now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and they go, well, we got sued, we paid our dues, we did warn you, and it's up to you. So you went ahead with it.
Yeah.
So you imagine, like you said about them owning up. It was like the Johnson & Johnson baby powder thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No one goes to jail, no one's reprimanded. They just
because they're always void or liability of the pharmaceutical companies, don't they?
Yeah.
Always.
And they've now, in Britain, I mean, I should imagine it's the same everywhere, but in Britain, Build Back Better Britain, Al Murray, they've written now into the parliamentary document that, I don't know when they did it, but that nobody will be held accountable for anything that goes wrong with the public, whether it is pre, during, or after that person has left office. So basically, you can poison half the population and then leave, and then they go, "Well, it wasn't my fault, mate, was it?"
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you tell people that, and they won't believe you, even if you show them on the official site. That's what it says. No.
Yeah, I mean, even with COVID, it was sort of, I think they put on the government site, didn't they, as of 31st of, was it 22nd of March, maybe, what they are with the figures and the numbers, that it's no longer basically a cause of concern. They put it out there, but they know that people won't look because they're too busy scrolling through Facebook and social media looking for the next fix. They know this. They know they've dumbed everybody down so much, the food, the overconsumption of everything, that the people won't look at the real stuff. They just know that.
Yeah.
We've just been we've been easy picking, haven't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they always say
20 years.
There's what is it? There's naught but stranger's folk.
No, but don't you think though? The last 20 years, people have got dumber.
Absolutely, and it's like I do think that the so-called smart dumb phone really is a major major contender for it. But what is it you call it when people are trying to keep up with the Joneses? They want everything.
Oh, the compare and despair.
Yeah, all that kind of thing. And you were saying about like all these women that are getting facelifts, just your average woman getting a facelift and then telling her kids that this is what you're going to do to keep yourself looking young and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you look like a lizard.
I know. I just feel so sad for people. So I look at people and because obviously I'm out there now, I'm feeling the love, and I'm just like, everyone's like so beautiful. Why are they injecting themselves with all this shit, thinking that that's what's beautiful, and it's not, and it just breaks my heart. You see people that are.
Do you remember you went through that period of the waif model look, where you got all these skinny, whatever we're going to call them, because we know a lot of them aren't women anyway, but these skinny apparitions, and of course, and then. That was the new, and now we've gone to the other side now, where you've got on Sports Illustrated, you've got heavier people, which is, like I say, is fine. But if you're trying to entice, again, coerce people into thinking that's the right way to live, it isn't. But go quickly, going back to a couple of other things that I found here after the Tuskegee thing, whether it was real or not, or whether this is something that they put together, because you just don't know. Right, we'll get rid of Billy Boy Clinton there. So I pulled up again on the Independent.
Billy Girl Clinton.
Billy Girl Clinton. Billy Girl Clinton. Exactly.
It's obvious. Yeah.
So in the Independent newspaper, It's 2015. How the British government subjected thousands of people to chemical and biological warfare trials during the Cold War. And I sent you that scary picture with the black and white, because it's got the black, it's probably a red and white poll, but it's a black and white picture with these weird looking characters. And you only need to read the, because you have to register to continue reading. Of course, on the Independent, we're not going to do that. During the Cold War, the British government used the general public as unwitting biological and chemical warfare guinea pigs on a much greater scale than previously thought, according to new historical research. Well, we know about historical research. In more than 750... hysterical research. Nice one. In more than 750 secret operations, hundreds of thousands of ordinary Britons were subject to mock biological and chemical warfare attacks. Now, we've seen them doing that in old videos, trucks going down the road, pumping crap all over kids having their lunch at school and all this kind of thing. And then, of course, on the video of John's video, which I'll put a link in if I remember this time, I forgot last time, showing these dickheads in white suits with masks on, pumping all this stuff out the back of these vans. You have no idea what they're pumping out. Maybe just steam or whatever, dry ice, I don't know, but probably not.
No.
So you look at that, and then I thought, right, let's have a look at a couple of corkers from the US. And this really goes out to anybody that's got children. You need to wise up, because this could be your kids that they're doing this stuff to. So, and there was a case of 12, only 12, probably more like 212, but 12 human guinea pigs who were secretly injected with radioactive plutonium-239 and uranium in government experiment in the 1940s. Oh, but Gaz, that was in the 1940s. Things have changed now. I don't think they have, sir.
We've progressed. We've progressed.
We've progressed, yeah. They wouldn't do things like that now.
We've devolved.
Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary, in announcing the settlement of $4.8 million to be paid to the families, the government was grateful to the victims. Oh, thank you very much for being a victim. For the tough lessons that we have been taught about trust, responsibility and accountability between the government and the people. In a congressional subcommittee hearing in Washington, D.C., we know about Washington, D.C., don't we? Being a country on its own. In September 1994, so again, not that long ago, it was revealed that up to 500,000 Americans were endangered by secret defence-related tests between 1940 and 1974. There's 74 again. Always in the 70s, right? Including covert experiments with radioactive materials, mustard gas, biological agents. The General Accounting Office testified that between 1949 and 1969, the Army, wonderful Army, the defenders of the public, our brave boys, released radioactive compounds in 239 cities to study the effects. So any of you lot out there that turn around and dare say, trust your government, trust the science, then I'm afraid, once again, shame on you. It's the only way I can put it. That's the only way I can put it. And there are, I mean, again, Porton Down, all those places, Ministry of Defence, it doesn't take more than a few minutes to work out exactly what is going on, what has gone on for decades and why, eh?
Oh, you're not.
I'm still here.
Oh, I thought you got off again.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here. So, you know, again, we literally are a bunch of guinea pigs, and they can do anything that they want at any time, and nobody's held responsible.
Lab rats.
Lab rats, yeah.
That's how they, unfortunately, what people have really got to switch onto is they do not give a shit.
No.
They never have, and they never will about us. And we've got to all look after each other and stop fucking trusting these psychopaths, paedophiles that are running the show. Yeah, people have got to start being a bit braver, haven't they?
Absolutely. And like we said, is also what, again, we see it all the time. I can't understand why our politicians are doing this kind of thing. Well, you know, first off, they're not doing it. They're just the relayer of the message. There is evil, real evil at work behind the scenes, and people have to understand that evil's always existed, and where there's good, there has to be evil. Where there's sun, there has to be dark, and so on.
Yeah.
But you look at these admittance to doing stuff to people, which has probably happened to many of our relatives and friends' relatives and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, we looked into all that, and again, it's just bringing a few things to the table that people might want to look into. Everybody knows about the MK Ultra and all that wonderful stuff, heads in cardboard boxes and, and worse.
Yeah.
But then we brought up a couple of subjects here, but we might not even get into them, the seed banks and all this kind of stuff. But I was telling Sarah the other day about the big underground tunnels and D.U.M.Bs, deep underground military bases, and
interesting stuff.
Yeah, and we looked at these, like the old sewer systems, the underground networks in London and Paris, the metro, all these amazing tunnels that the narrative tells you these men dug these tunnels out with shovels, pickaxes, wooden carts, and horses, and yet they're perfect. Well, of course they didn't do that. These things were there long before. How they were done, we don't really know, but they certainly weren't done the way that they were told. We were told this beautiful brickwork and so on. Paul Cook is a perfect person. Go and check out Paul Cook.
Yeah.
He's a perfect
good,
person.
he?
He's dead funny as well. Geezer.
Yeah.
He's a geezer from Southend.
Yeah.
Him and his girlfriend, they're out doing it. Brilliant. She goes with him everywhere. What a girl. So we started looking into these underground bases. They're everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And here's a little example. There are at least 1,400 D.U.M.Bs worldwide, deep underground military bases. 188 known D.U.M.Bs in the US, with 2 underground bases being built per year. The average depth of the base is 4.25 miles underground. Each D.U.M.B costs between 17 and 26 billion to build. And they talk about the fact that there's no money and we got to go to the food bank and all this kind of stuff, right? Now, these statistics and facts, they're not necessarily facts. This is just stuff that people have put out there and so on. They've done their research and so on. So just before me and Sarah started talking today, I pulled up a little thing called ScienceDirect.com. So this is an official site. It's not a conspiracy theory site. This is an official site where you can actually buy and order things, books and plans and all this kind of stuff. So I decided to have a look at tunnel boring machines. And there's a whole thing on these massive tunnel boring machines. They show you how they work. This one particular one, 14 foot across the tunnel it will make at its widest points, right? So obviously it's a circle. But so you look at this and you think to yourself, and like John said, he maintains there's tunnels going under the Atlantic, and I 100% think the same thing.
Well, imagine it. Yeah, you can, can't you? Basically anything is possible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why would you not do it? If you could do it, why would you not dig a tunnel under the ocean? You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's an easy way to get across, right? But it's not for us, it's for them. Right, so anyway, it goes through the whole, it's on ScienceDirect.com, topics engineering tunnel boring machines. 2016, I think this came out. So, very interesting, shows you how it all works. This is what they used to supposedly to do the Channel Tunnel, but we again think that was probably already there. It just was found and reused. Just joined it back together or whatever. So you look at that, and then you start looking into some of the stuff behind it and how they're able to move military personnel, and you can guarantee that despite the fact that the good old Pres of the US flies in on $1 million a year aeroplane for show, he's probably nipping backwards and forwards on these underground tunnels with these trains in them. So I looked at another site here, and I just thought this was interesting, and the reason for bringing it up again is to show the naivety of people and why it is so frustrating that they can't see it. Now, there's a guy here, 2012, and and this is what he says. This is 2012. Regarding massive underground bases, it may be possible to hollow out the inside of a mountain, but you would have to contend with the disposal of the debris. Blah, 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 blah. This all sounds highly impractical for most of our landmass. And then here we have a whole website showing you how they're digging these massive tunnels underground. So this dude here spouting out his opinion is probably the same person who would have said to you in 2015, what are you talking about? Don't be stupid. They're not going to make us wear masks. And then suddenly realise how wrong he actually got it. Right. And again, I'm not bringing this up to have a dig at people overall, but this is the kind of thing where you suddenly wake up one morning and realise what you've been told or what you thought wasn't really the case, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting, and the fact that there is a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about, and then when you start reading into it, this is where, in my opinion, all these experiments go on. You can forget about the International Space Station with them lunatics on their, the back room at NASA with their sticking up hair. There's no one doing science up on that thing. It doesn't exist. They're doing it all on this plane underground. That's what they're doing. That's why they build all this stuff underground.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would do. I would build it underground if I was going to do it. Wouldn't you? I mean, it's the obvious choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I thought, again, this is all part of this deception, isn't it? Like you said, you've gone back to pharmacy, to big pharma. It's deception. Everything that they're telling you is deceit.
It's all deception, isn't it? The deception is so deep. And it's everything about who we are, what this realm is, everything to keep us from getting anywhere near the truth, isn't it?
Do you think it's also to do with trying to, because this is all about dehumanisation. This is all, I sent you that article on that funny little, what's his name, that Noah, what's his name guy, Noah.
I thought you was going down. I thought you meant the sex robot one.
No. The where is he? Here he is. Yuval Noah Harari. Right, that lunatic. Right, I mean,
you
this
like
guy,
him, don't you?
That guy is out of his mind. But the thing is, again, with him, he is a big pal with all these politicians. He speaks at the World Economic Forum. He's one of the advisors at the United Nations. Anybody that wants to go and check out Yuval Noah Harari's book, Sapiens.
Delightful.
Yeah, he's a lovely character. He is. Right, and he talks 10 years ago. He's talking about the destruction of Homo sapiens and humanity, and so on. So we discovered, didn't we, a guy? Now you know all about this bloke. So we're talking about the deception. you know where we're going, don't you, with this one? Yeah, we're going over to Mr. E. We're going to Mr. E.
We're going into trans investigation. Oh God! Well, I think you should introduce. Where do you bloody begin? I mean, you've got really into MrE over this weekend, haven't you? You've been...
Well, this guy that does this thing is just brilliant. I mean, it's just it's very funny. This guy, I don't know what his name is, but he goes by the name of Mr. E. His channel, he's got one on Odyssey and one on BitChute. Just type in Mr. E and you'll find him. And he's he's a trans investigation agent. Right?
It's a great job.
It's a great job, right? And he basically, again, it's all to do with deception of what we are led to believe. And really, I suppose, without going into too many details, you'd have to go and look yourself. But once you see it again, you realise...
Once you've got eyes to see.
Once you've got eyes to see, you realise what it's all about, okay? Yeah. Well, these books that this Noah dude's written, and it's all about the same subject. It's about dehumanising the population, right? And that's why there's this big push with school kids and with everything into this big...
Pronouns and everything. Yeah.
Right? And I think that part of the reason for doing this, first of all it is probably about as demonic as you're going to get. Yeah. And secondly, I think that for us to go to the next level, that we have got to be what we were put here to be, which is human beings. Yeah. And if you start tampering with humanity, i.e. putting chips in people or linking them with a cloud, an AI, or having a man who is now a woman or a woman who is now a man, two people in one body, which is what they talk about. I don't think you're going to be able to cross over. I know that's pretty heavy stuff, but it's very interesting. It's very funny, and he does some brilliant stuff about what's been taken away from us and so on. And this guy, I don't know, he plays guitar, and I guess he's a musician, but he used to work at a university, and as I told you, he lost his job thanks to Convict because he refused to have the mark of the beast, as he puts it. And it's funny because the guy who was going to be it's not funny, but the guy who was going to be the new director of the university, who was basically his boss, and I wouldn't say he was the guy who fired him, but the guy who let him go, or part of the department that let him go. He'd had the jibby jab, 50-something years old, fit guy, blood clot in the heart, boom.
So it was obviously a genetic cardiac condition that was undiagnosed.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't it?
The usual strange rise in heart attacks.
Blame genetics on everything.
Yeah.
That's what they do, isn't it?
This guy's well worth looking into, and he's very funny. And it goes down the biblical route. I don't have a problem with that at all, because a lot of that makes sense. But, you listen to it. If you go and listen to it for what it is, and you will see, you will see some incredible things. Like, these shops where girls who want to be men can buy stand-up rubber penises so that they can pee standing up. And they're quite expensive as well.
Idea. I don't know why you're knocking that.
I'm a bit like what's his name, Jim Jeffries. I like a nice sit down wee. What do I need to stand up for? Get up in the middle of the night. I don't want to turn that on. Have a nice sit down wee. Right? Why would you want to? And you don't miss the pan either. There's no chance of you missing the pan. But you can go to what's called the FTM shop, where you can buy all the necessary pieces for a lady who wants to pretend to be a man or be a man, and go into a men's toilet and pee standing up.
But when you even start looking, when you look at these, where they want to send it all, shall we say, and when you look into the trans investigation and a lot of the shims, and then you look at kind of what the big push on the Botox and the lip fillers and everything, they're basically making women look like them, aren't they, anyway?
Yes.
And, it's kind of like that push behind it all is kind of normalising that look.
Yeah.
And that's beauty, and that's how you should look. And then even kind of the big push on women in gyms and getting muscly and all of that.
Yeah.
Again, it's all of that, isn't it? It's all kind of, they're heading people towards all of that kind of weird idea of what beauty is, or it's all pushing towards that. I can see that in younger people and just all ages. It's such a mess. People just have no idea what men or women should even look like anymore. It's a right old mess.
Well,
out there.
do you reckon that, like, if you look at music, do you think that you remember I was a Duran fan and all that, Japan, and I wasn't a Spandau fan, I have to say. I wasn't. I thought Tony Hadley was a bit of he's got his little finger sticking out, and he when he sings on his microphone, of course. But you had like Nick Rhodes, looked like a girl. David Sylvian from Japan,
stuff.
All the new romantic thing, and so on. And, T-Rex and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The glam rock and so on. I think that was probably the start of the feminization of man, and I fell into it. Because I had the long black hair down to my waist, all curled. Thought I was in Kiss. Paul Stanley or Whitesnake. I was like, guys who look like girls, and of course the girls loved it. I remember when I was in the States, I used to date this woman from a radio station. She had beautiful hair. I never had beautiful hair. My hair was always I had to work at it. She had natural. And people used to say, which one of you do you do each other's hair? Which one of you, who uses the most conditioner and stuff like that, And you had this thing of girls dating blokes who look like girls. And they loved it, you know. And
Yeah.
guys wearing skin-tight jeans and, you know, little
Yeah.
shoes with... And then you start looking at some of this stuff that the Mr. E's brought up, and you got guys wearing women's high-heeled shoes, wearing dresses, you know, and
But
all
of
this
course
kind
they'll
of stuff.
say, oh, it's just a trend. We used to do that in the 70s. They'll just,
Yeah.
you know, they'll just normalise it all.
Yeah.
And, oh, this is just the latest trend. And this is that. But there's so much aggression behind everything now, isn't there? It's getting...
But you've got parents that can now take a young boy to a clinic
Yeah.
at 10 or whatever it is in the States
Oh,
and have him
gosh.
operated on.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, and of course, again, we're going to repeat ourselves so many times because there is so much going on. But if you want to do that, more power to you for doing that. But not when it's a child, not when it's a young person who hasn't developed brain skills or whatever properly. That is when you are... 20 years ago, if it was in the public like that, you'd be locked up. We know they were doing it behind the scenes because they've been doing it.
Yeah.
So, again, anyone who's listening in, go and do some research on the Castrados. It's not a TV series either. Right? Yeah. It's not they did The Sopranos, and then they did a show called The Castrados, which is a show about the Sopranos children. It's not that at all. The Castrados were singers who had who were castrated way back. This goes right back to the Greeks and everything. So they would keep these high voices, and they were able to continue to sing with these amazing voices, you know. And then when you start looking at some of these diva, as they call them, the female diva singers, Mariah Carey, all that lot, it's actually abnormal for them to sing the way that they sing because they've got the power of the man, the chest power of the man, and they've also got the amazing high range of a female. But you put the two together and they're able to do it. Christina Aguilera is another one. I mean, to be honest with you, they drive me nuts. I couldn't listen to them. Just up and down the scale. It's too much, you know.
Yeah.
But
it's that thing again, though, isn't it? What they've done behind the scenes has made it unachievable. And then people think that, you know, this, they don't realise how that's done and what that person actually was.
Yeah. But the great thing about it is what is funny, and it is funny, is like the reason that people don't want to acknowledge it. And you know, these stars actually tell you. They tell you, and people
in
go,
jest.
They're just
Joke.
larking about. So you got Cher, you know, Cher sits there and says on camera, I always remember telling my mum I was going to become a very rich man, and people go, oh, she's just mucking about, and maybe she is, maybe he is. Right, but when I was in Brazil, I went down to Copacabana Beach one night with another drummer, and there are some of the most beautiful women and beautiful men that you have ever seen in your life, walking up and down Copacabana Beach. You know, the he-she boys, and you know, and they go through some crazy stuff to get these hips going and inject themselves with silicone and all this kind of thing. You know, you would be hard pushed to not know which was which, right? So it's very obvious that they do this kind of thing. But you've got like...
You've not got any stories to share?
I did have a story to share, yeah, but it wasn't... I'll tell you about that in a minute. So you know, you've got like a group of people, like, so you've got Cher saying that. She's an obvious one.
I dropped my phone now. I was laughing that much.
Right, and then you got like Charlize Theron, you know.
Yeah.
And she's on the David Letterman show, and she, to all intensive purposes, you know, she's very tall, looks like a girl. But you put her in short hair and take off the makeup, and she looks like a good-looking boy, right?
Yeah.
And she's on David Letterman, and she said,
she's a boy.
I'm a boy, she. She called her, we call them shims. And a big handout goes to my mate Glenn, an old bass player friend of mine, who said that when we were doing the heavy metal thing and we had leather trousers on, from behind we looked like girls, but from the front we were obviously not. And he called us shims. So we've now adopted this hashtag that seems to be doing quite well on the Awakened chat, called shims. It's a shim, a he and a she put together.
I
a
use
she
it
and a
all
him.
the time
Sarah
now.
uses it
I
all the
use
time.
it.
Right, but
I love it.
Charlize goes, well, people call me Charlie or even Chuck.
Yeah.
Right? And then she
They
talks
tell
about her
you.
height,
They
and
just tell you.
she's got enormous feet and enormous hands. And one of the things that
Mm.
Mr. E goes on about is it's so easy to show. It's the shoulder ratio to the hips.
Mm.
You take a normal woman, look at her shoulders are always much smaller than her hips. Doesn't matter what size she is. You get the odd one or two, and normally their heads are pretty much in relation to their shoulders, whereas men tend to have bigger heads than girls,
Yeah.
and their shoulders are much bigger. So if you have a large-headed, large-shouldered, no-hipped female, there is a good chance that that's a shim, right? And as the song goes,
though,
shim shiminy, shim shiminy, shim shim, he she.
or Lola. I like Lola.
Yeah. And
Play that quite a bit.
you've got,
David-
Aerosmith tried to tell you when they did the song "Dude Looks Like a Lady," you know.
Yeah,
But
he's
you've
a lady.
yeah, dude looks like a lady. Dude is a lady. You've got Miley Kunis. Is that a Miley Kunis? That's her name, isn't it? Is it Miley
No,
Kunis?
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis. That's
Mila.
it. Mila Kunis.
You,
She's
you,
sitting
you
there.
merged Miley Cyrus with Mila
Yeah,
Kunis.
well,
there.
Miley Cyrus is a dude as well, of course. She's a little boy, right? But that's why they're doing
It's all
this.
coming out
That's
now.
why they're doing this thing where they're now going on stage with large strap-on phallus to show what they
Well, this
really
is-
are.
But you know what? The deeper kind of thing is, and I remember growing up idolising some of these people, thinking that's how I should look and all the rest of it. And it's just there to make nobody can look that way because it's abnormal anyway. It's like you say, they've had ribs removed, they've done all sorts, they've been butchered, haven't they? These people.
Yeah, as young
But,
kids.
terrible from like a young age, awful. Then it's presented an unrealistic idea of what beauty is to men and women, with the females and the males. And then you've got young people feeling insecure about themselves, thinking this is what beauty is, also skewing it in like women's minds of what men should look like and in men's minds of what women should look like. And they don't look like that. It's because it's all, like you say, you walked on Copacabana Beach and said they were all really, really beautiful. But that idea of beauty is like the butchered idea, I guess, if it's, and that's what's being put in people's psyches forever.
Yeah.
And it's not real, is it?
It's so unnatural.
And it's so fucked up. It's all so fucked up.
Yeah, it's unnatural, and I am a true believer that you should not tamper with nature. You should not tamper with the way you're meant to be. And I'm not talking
Nature
about
keeps score. Nature
I'm not talking about
score.
somebody that's perhaps got a bad jaw problem or something, can have their jaw wired and fixed so that they can eat properly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
one of the things, again, and we've sort of gone a little bit off key here, but it doesn't matter because it's all part of the same thing. It's all to do with deception.
Yeah.
These evil entities that are bouncing around everywhere trying to change us, it's all becoming the norm and it's becoming acceptable.
Yeah.
And if you accept it and give your consent, you're in for a rough ride, aren't you? This is what we've said. You're in for a rough ride. But you've got this massive push towards these things, and when you go back to those documents, that Jacques Attali document and them other people who said this is what they're going to do. Now, that's not like, well, I read that in 1972 and now I've manifested it. I've made that happen. No, I didn't know about this until 2020. They were putting this out there so that people would suddenly start to think, oh, well, this is all right. I mean, this doesn't matter. And it's the old boiling frog, isn't it? It's putting the frog in the cool water and bringing it to the boil.
That like drip
exactly.
approach, what they do. Just keep normalising stuff. Just drip till people don't know what's real anymore and what is true and what just a complete brainwashing that's going on. It's been going on for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. And there's again, all I would say is go and watch Mr. E and listen to him, and don't overtake it too seriously when he starts talking. I'm not knocking him for bringing up verses from the Bible because they actually do make sense with the film, with the videos itself.
Yeah.
But there is some very enlightening stuff there. And I said, didn't I, a long time ago, Megan Fox, right? And she's not particularly. They said she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's got skin like a rhino, close up. She's got so much makeup on. And
Well, they put makeup on that's like what they'd put on dead people, don't they?
Well, that's it. And also what they've done is they've made themselves look like transvestites. They look like male transvestites.
Yeah.
On purpose, right? So you've got Megan Fox, who, when she was younger, she looked cute, you know? When she was sort of 18, 19. What films was she famous for? Transformers.
I know.
Transformers, trannies in disguise, right? And I said to you, didn't I? I said, I'm telling you now that Megan Fox is a guy. I mean, it's just you can see it's a bloke, right? And she's on one of these red carpets, and she basically says that she's a transvestite. And this guy that she's dating, this rapper singer guy, is probably the opposite. He's probably MTF. And he has the jawline of a woman and the shoulders of a woman and so on. Yeah. And it's a complete, again, it's upside down reversal. But as this lot age, they keep having these operations, which must cost a fortune, obviously, and they become more and more and more. Haven't they? Yeah, they look more and more like the stereotypic facelifted transvestite than they did, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to continue to look like a woman. Yeah.
So people just go, oh, look, their surgery looks so bad.
Yeah. Not look
their
like
eyes on that, not on the. They're
not trying to keep themselves young. They're trying to make themselves look like females. Yeah. And now when you look at them, you go, you just look like a transvestite. And the sex dolls that we also looked at on there, the sex robots, they all look like transvestite dolls. They don't look like female dolls. They've got muscly arms, haven't they, big jaws and so on, which you'll see on there. And I thought it was quite funny that they just bought out the first tranny Barbie.
I know.
You know, I mean, what kind of parent goes out and buys? I suppose a transvestite parent goes and buys a tranny Barbie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I did actually buy that Barbie. I meant to say that.
Did you? I got the dominatrix one. I got the dominatrix one. I put a lampshade on it, turned it into a lamp. I have it by the bed. But they had in 2000, I think it was either 14 or 17, I don't know. Mattel bought out the gender non-specific dolls. So you've got a doll. One side, you turn it around. One side, it's a guy. You turn it around the other side, it's a girl. Yeah. You know, so they're gradually pushing this agenda. Yeah,
and of course the push has been as well to not question it. If you question it, you're
anti.
Be anti this. You know, you're judgmental. You're wrong. You're this. You're that. There's a massive push on that, isn't there?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's like if you want to put a bone through your nose, or you want to get your back tattooed up and have bat wings stitched underneath your arms, which I've seen in Brazil, or you want to do all that kind of stuff, then you go ahead and do it.
I've led such a sheltered life.
Well, I went to a tattoo convention.
So glad I have.
Right, I went to a tattoo convention with a band in Brazil.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like it. Just unbelievable what I saw there. People having threaded bolts screwed into their skulls so they could have giant metal Mohicans.
Oh my gosh.
These horns implanted underneath their skin, like you see Lady Gaga. She's got those funny things in her face now, hasn't you?
He's got.
Yeah, I was just trying to think. Lady, we'll call him Lady Brian. Lady Brian. You know, and there was a girl, and she had now, all right, you can take these out, but she had rings in her back going all the way down her back, and her whole back was laced up with ribbon, like a basque, but it was her skin. And then when she lifted her arms up, she had rings going through the underneath of her arms with bat wings hanging off of it, right?
Oh, God.
I mean, it was... And like I said, good for you, you know. I hope you enjoy yourself. It must cost you a lot of money. But don't tell me that I've got to accept it. I accept it. But don't tell me that if I don't clap my hands for it or whatever, then I'm obviously I'm not a supporter of this, that, and the other. And last time we went to the States, last time I went on an aeroplane. As you know, I'll never go on an aeroplane or to an airport ever again. Not unless we're going out in one of those big camouflaged, stolen military craft to get away from the zombies. Then I might get on a plane. But we went to San Diego to see friends of the family, and we went to Palm Springs. Palm Springs is like hot. It's a mega hot place to go and visit.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't enjoy it very much, but our friends love it there. And so anyway, we went to Palm Springs. Anyway, Palm Springs becomes the first city council in the nation to be all homosexual, bisexual, or transgender. And all their zebra crossings are painted, or from what I saw on this thing, painted with the old rainbows.
Yeah.
So the governor of, not the governor, the mayor of Palm Springs has now said that they will give. Check this out. And this was on MrE. Learned this from MrE. I'm going to try and get hold of him and see if we can do a podcast with him, because he's very funny. I like the guy a lot. But he said that he pulled up this article, and there's the mayor, I think, and the whoever of Palm Springs. They will now give $900 a month, universal income, $900 a month to any person who basically applies for it, who's a transvestite or non-gender specific. So that basically means I could walk up there with a bit of lipstick on and say, oh yes,
You could get away with it.
right? It doesn't matter what you look like. All you got to do is tell them that's what you are.
I think you should go undercover and do a little...
Long way to go, though, isn't it?
report back.
But 900, they're going to give you $900 a month of the taxpayers' money, or so-called taxpayers' money. So how many people do you think are just going to turn around and go, work in a restaurant? I can get $900 a month just by saying that I have no gender. But of course, it's going to backfire on them, because then you are now owned by that government there, that local government. And I can guarantee you that they will not give you that money unless you are completely triple speared, plus all your extras up. They will not give you that money. So basically, they are coercing a group of people into receiving money for a rather nasty procedure. Aren't they?
Yeah. This is where we're at, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It just keeps coming. What amazes me, it just keeps coming, doesn't it? It's like every day you think, well, there's nothing else we can really talk about. Oh, look at this. And off we go again, you know? I mean,
it couldn't get even more silly. Oh, it has.
It is just beyond the black hole, isn't it? Beyond belief.
Yeah.
And you just think
surreal.
to yourself, well,
It is just like walking around. It is that we've woken up, and we've woken up in a lunatic asylum.
Yeah. Now before we go into last couple of things here, and I had to bring this up because this has actually happened to me the other day. It was it wasn't shocking. It was brilliant, because I thought this is not going to work, and I'm going to be eating my words here. But John brought us up on the old subject of the Mandela effect, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
In his chat, in his Awaken channel and so on. Now, most people have probably heard about this, but if you look into it, the main one that he brought up, being a bit of a Star Wars fan like he is, was about C-3PO, wasn't it? Being gold, right? C-3PO.
C-3PO.
Where's that Scotch? C-3PO was always gold to us age group. Everybody that we've asked, gold. My brother, who's a big Star Wars fan, he had all the figures, gold. Well, now C-3PO has a silver half leg. And people will go, well, they've just redone it and re-edited it. And you go, oh, yeah, all right then, for the new DVD version and so on. So you got C-3PO gold now with a silver leg. And then this one that I witnessed firsthand, as we've said, the movie, the Disney movie, first Disney film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. What did the evil queen say to the mirror, Sarah?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
That's right.
And I know that as well from going to pantos and stuff.
Exactly, right. So apparently we're all wrong and we're completely out of our mind, according to people like Reuters and Snoops or whatever they're called, them idiots, right? Anyway, so we called around and spoke to my brother and my sister-in-law and various other people, and we said, what's the... and they said, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Yeah.
So my brother pulls it up on the internet. Of course, it's on the internet, so it could have been changed, you see.
Yeah.
But we got the original video from about
We
30...
got a DVD.
Yeah, we got a
Not
video.
no, sorry, a VHS.
A VHS, right? We got the VHS film, and it's over 30 years old. Because we've been here 16 years, and my mum got it way, way, way before that. So it's over 30 years old. Put it in the old video player and ran it, found the bit, and she says now, magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all? And we were like, so how has that changed then? How has it? It's changed, right?
This is proper trippy, isn't it? This is where you feel like we are awake in the dream world.
Yeah.
How is it? I can't explain how it's happening though. I know it's happening, but I can't explain it.
No. Well, I don't know how it's happening, but as I said to you, I think I know why it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Go on, explain why.
The other two things that came up, which I thought were particularly interesting, was interview with a vampire has now become interview with the vampire, which doesn't sound right because that means it's just
it was
one.
interview with a vampire.
Right.
I did catch that.
Yeah, people who've got DVDs of the film have taken the DVD out and gone, hang on a minute, A has turned to thee. How's that happened then?
Yeah, yeah.
The other one was what we in England called Tipex. In America they call it whiteout. And it's white, so you put it on when you used to use a typewriter or whatever, and made a mistake, you'd white it out. It's now spelt WITE. And they maintain it was never spelt with an H. Well, white is spelt with an H. That's only a small one, but there was a load of them. Right?
There are literally loads if you look into it.
Yeah, like the Monopoly guy, his monocle's gone, and all this sort of stuff, you know. But anyway, what I think is, so if we've said about the the good and the evil, whatever, it can be two sort of options to look at. One is that the evil hordes are playing with us, or the good side is dangling the carrot to see who is awake, so that let's see who notices this and questions it. Because if you question it, what I think is exciting about it is that we suddenly realise that the realm that we've been taught we are in, we're not, and that's why they made the Matrix movies and various movies that to show people in a way. But we now know firsthand that somehow reality can be changed. It's not being changed by us. I didn't think about, I wonder if I could think hard enough and change the mirror, mirror bit. No, it's changed by itself. Well, it's not changed by itself. Some energy, some power has changed it. And is that for us to see, and then for that entity to go, if you call it an entity, go, you got it, guys. You got it.
Yeah.
You understand. That's how I look at it. Yeah. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a good thing.
No, I do as well. So they understand that, everything is magical and anything's possible. And if your eyes are truly open. Yeah. I hope it's that.
I think it is. I can't see it being anything else, to be honest with you.
Maybe having a bit of fun with us.
Yeah. Yeah, like let's see, it's there, right in front of you, plain as day. Can you see the wood for the trees? Yeah. That kind of thing. Yeah. And a lot of people are going to go, well, of course, the younger generation, they're going to be brought up now on the different terminology, right? Yeah. And we'll say, no, they never said that. Yeah, they've always said that. Well, we know different. Maybe that is part of this process. And I think I'm probably wrong about this, but I remember looking at about 2006, this really started to come to light,
I wondered when it started.
Yeah, that these kind of, I mean, anybody who thinks that Nelson Mandela, whoever he was, and however many people played his part, was actually locked up for all them years. Of course he wasn't. He was on the beach in the Bahamas somewhere having a good time. right?
With Elvis.
With Elvis and David Bowie. I mean, that's another subject that we can get into. But the other thing that we were going to have a quick look at, and we'll only have a quick look at this, because I thought this was quite interesting. And again, it's part of this whole thing of either deception of the public or these tyrant entities showing the regular public that you are not, this is not for you, this is for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, we've talked, haven't we, about the GMO foods, Billy Boy Gates, Brenda Gates, whatever we call him, because there's a good chance that he's a bit of a shim.
Willie G, I like to call him.
Willie G.
And Man Linda.
Yeah, that's what Mr. E calls him, Man Linda Melvin Gates, right? So these cats are buying up all this farmland, right? They're buying up all this farmland, aren't they? They're threatening farmers. If you don't use our GMO foods, you will be, we'll shut you down. You won't get any government support and so on and so forth. And then I came across, I started to look at this Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which is in Iceland.
Yeah.
And it's basically this concrete chunk sticking out the side of this mountain with this rather weird-looking green glow coming out the top. It's on the site of an organisation called the Crop Trust. Well, we all know that anything with trust in it is not to be trusted. Hey.
Yeah, the words are incredible, aren't they, really, when you start looking into the magic of words in the English language.
What's it called? It's called. There's a name for that thing where you break words up. I can't remember what it's called now, but there's a guy who does it, and there's a website that you can go on where you put in certain words like government. One word is actually mind control. Two separate words, right? I can't remember what they call it anyway. But you had a look at this as well, didn't you? And you looked at the. You go from the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, where there's 1,145,693 seed varieties. It's funny how they always round it up to it's either a 96, 93 or something like that, right? Why 93? You know, I don't know how they come to these numbers. Why don't they just round it up to...
round it off.
Roughly,
Why don't they round it off?
We've roughly got duplicates of 1,150,000 seeds. But no, they have to put 693 in.
133.33.
Its purpose is to back up gene bank collections to secure the foundation of our food supply, which they have no intention of backing up our food supply, which is why people are starving to death in Africa and various other countries. And when you start scrolling through this, it's just hilarious. You can't go, first of all, we can't go there. And I think it's got your stereotypic picture of the outside of the building with a fucking polar bear standing there or something, or a wolf. There's something standing there, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, they started building this thing, and apparently there's 4.5 million varieties of crop. Each packet of seeds consists an average of 500 seeds, a maximum of 2.5 billion seeds. I can't even talk now. Anyway, it's a huge amount of seeds that are collected here. And I think back to the movie Soylent Green, because we know full well that if these seeds are being collected, they're not being collected for us. They're being collected for the robber barons and their criminal fraternity.
Yeah.
That if something goes wrong, they've got all this stuff and we'll just be left outside to fend for ourselves. Or it's a load of bullshit, right? It's a load of old bullshit, and it's all just strung together to make the gullible people of the world think that they're collecting all this on behalf of people, right? To look after people. It says here, currently the seed vault holds more than 1.1 million seed varieties. These range from unique varieties of major African and Asian food supplies, right? Well, we go and look at some of these African situations where there's poor little kids walking 2 miles to get some dirty water. It shows that they're not really... Oh, and it's so funny, it says, and the loss of crop variety is irreversible as the extinction of the dinosaur.
Get the dinosaurs in there.
Yeah, you got to get the dinosaurs in there, you know. But anyway, so when you look at that, you get down to the bottom here and you find out that the guy here in charge of the build of this, his name's Carrie Fowler. And he is now been appointed the US Special Envoy for Global Food Security. Right? So he's
course,
built
yeah.
this thing back in the whenever it was. He oversaw he was the overseer of the build of this thing, and in May of this year he's been now made the envoy for global food security, which basically in my book means food for us but not for you.
Yeah.
So he's probably a good old pal with Mrs. Gates, both Mrs. Gates, Mrs. Gates the female and Mrs. Gates the man. Reversal. Let's reverse the roles. But so you probably find out, and we'll look into him because he's probably a bit of a dodgy. He looks like a dodgy character as well. But then when you
They're
go,
all dodgy.
of course they are.
They're
When
all
when you then
dodgy.
go over to, it's so funny. It goes safeguarding seeds for the future. Spain and Lithuania deposit seeds for the first time. You got these three people standing there with their plastic crates. They've turned up with it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a. Of course, it's not a polar bear, is it? Stupid me. It's a reindeer standing outside. Right. So anyway, easily done. Right. And they show you the pictures.
Yeah.
They show you the pictures, and then when you gradually scroll down, you find out that they're after your money as well. Right. They're after
Never.
they're after your money as well.
No, they would never do that.
Yeah, and it says what it cost to secure global crop diversity. Of course, got to get that word in forever.
Yeah.
Right, so apparently it's going to cost $850 million needed. They've already had 245 million donated, but they need 850 more to secure global crop diversity forever. So if they're building underground military bases for billions, why can't they throw these people a few bucks then? It's the question I have to ask there, because apparently it's not that important. And then when you get on the croptrust.org, what is the solution to global hunger? And of course, you've got a little Oriental person there with an umbrella up and a sou'wester on. It looks like a child, but it could be a woman. You've got countries hit by the summer heat wave, ravaged crops worldwide. You've got all this stuff. You've got, obviously like an African person with their hand full of wheat and all this kumbaya stuff going on. Lovely. But if you actually believe that these people that are doing this have your interests at heart, the answer is categorically and utterly no, they don't. Do they, Sarah? Hey, they don't have your news. They don't have your what's at heart. And there's an Indian nuts about peanuts, 19th of July 2022, and it's an Indian lady. But there's
to test it.
There's lots of reports about farmers in India being forced to do certain things with certain types of crops, or they literally burn their fields and everything in it. And there they are with a lady smiling, Indian lady smiling, and she's nuts about peanuts. So I thought again, although it's slightly off subject, in a way it's all part of the same thing. You've got the climate funding to support Pacific seed crops, Ukraine at risk, farmers to get seed capital from crops in the US. It's all there again, part of this thing.
Well, they've got lots of different hands that they can play, haven't they?
Yeah.
We've got the climate.
Yeah.
that they'll go for, depending on who's going to take the bait and where. They're testing all the time, aren't they? I notice at the moment they're testing which one to go for, which one's going to put people in the most fear, which one's people going to buy into this time. It's constant like little tests.
Yeah.
At the moment,
I'm just looking at this Carrie Fowler. The Crop Trust is delighted to congratulate its former executive director, Carrie Fowler, on his new role as the United States Special Envoy for Global Food Security. This comes amidst highlighted awareness about food insecurity around the world, with the conflict in the Ukraine causing a steep rise in food prices globally. I still don't understand how a country that most people didn't even know existed last year is such a big deal when it comes to food. I still can't quite get my head around that, but there you go. That's just another thing.
Yeah.
But these, again, these people, they're all picked. This guy's probably, maybe back in the day he was something to do with this, but now he's just basically a suit and tied politician.
They're selected.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all selected.
And
They're all part of the club.
Yeah, very interesting stuff though to read the hypocrisy. And I guarantee you that if we start looking into some of the people behind, and again, look at this. This is great. Crop Trust is an international non-profit. Of course, it is organisation dedicated to conserving and making crop diversity available for use globally, forever, and benefit for everyone except for you. And then you come down and you've got approach and values, governance. Again, once again, these people have no interest in you, your family, your health. It's all for them. These people standing outside with their arms in the air, all smiling, do not realise that they are helping supply a certain group of people with sustenance that they're not going to get.
I know.
In my opinion.
I know.
My opinion, anyway.
Proof's been in the pudding, hasn't it?
Well, it's like we said, it's not really that difficult to work that stuff out, is it? Really?
No, not for us.
We've rambled on a bit and gone off track a few times, but I think once you put these things together, I would certainly, as I said, recommend going to see. You'll find him on BitChute and Odyssey, MrE, the Apocalypse guy, the transvestigator. Yeah. One, it will make you laugh. It's quite sad as well, but it will make you laugh. Certainly check out our mate John on Awaken, the sheep farm guys at Sheep Farm Studios. I mean, we've been so busy with our stuff now, we haven't even got time to listen to some of this stuff, have we?
No. No, it's like a life's mission, isn't it? Life's calling.
Yeah.
And it's just once you start, especially with like somebody like yourself who's on the same wavelength, so looking into the same type of stuff, and at a certain stage, it is kind of addictive, isn't it? 'Cause it's like, well, what are we going to uncover next?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you don't want to be watching EastEnders, do you, or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I was listening to Dom and Chris. Everything that they put out, I was listening to because I found it extremely amusing.
They are brilliant.
But
they're just so funny, aren't they?
Oh yeah, but I think, as we said, is that we've for us to help push what they push, we have to look at stuff ourselves, and it is a time-consuming, very interesting event that we're putting ourselves through. But I would say one thing before we end, and we talked about this, and you can say your bit about this, is anybody out there that is commenting on things, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's Odyssey, BitChute, or on Telegram, even if you use Telegram, instead of just putting comment after comment after comment with a little profile picture of something dumb or something, I don't know, so you can hide who you really are. You don't have to show who you really are, but anybody that is commenting, my suggestion, if you really want to make something happen and help with this cause that we're all involved in, is create your own channels. It's free to do it. Create your own channels. Put your thoughts on
jump on someone else's like I've done.
Yeah, but I mean, no, but we've created this thing together. You and me have created this thing. No. We've done it together. Right. I started rabbiting on my own, and I have a much better time doing it with you. This is our thing. I created a 2020 Speaking Out Telegram, which virtually nobody's on. Nobody seems to be able to find it, but it doesn't matter. But instead of going to somebody's channel like John's channel and loading it up with irrelevant crap,
traffic triggers you, doesn't it?
Well, it does because it serves
Gary, I think you need to go away and sit with why this triggers you so much.
No, but the thing is, it serves no purpose, and we're here to try and serve a purpose, aren't we? We're trying to serve a purpose. The more people that get this information out there, we're basically parrot fashioning what Dom and Chris say, right?
Well, and these people on these channels are a little bit of we know there's trolls on there. They're trying to distract people, aren't they? That's what they're doing. They're distracting them down the wrong paths, I guess. And or some people are just there to be annoying. I get that as well. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, they're not
I do
all
agree.
they're not all trolls, right? They're not all these trolls and these bots.
They're all controlled up. You know,
A lot of these people that go, no, John, or no, you've got it wrong. And you go, okay, then, if I've got it wrong, show me the evidence so that I can look at it and correct myself if I'm wrong. No, they can't do that. So don't be there. Get lost. Don't be there, because you're not helping the situation. All you're doing is filling up the chat so that anything that is anything that's important gets pushed to the bottom, right? It gets pushed to the bottom, so we can't see it. You know, I mean,
what? So just when you're sharing stuff on the sex robots,
yeah, but I put the sex robots thing on my channel. On our channel. I didn't put it on John's channel and go, look, everybody, look at this. Right? So John makes a post on the chat. Sorry, John makes a post on his channel. 3 people comment on it. That's normally you, me, and that Fran. Then you go to the chat, and you find that there's 70-something messages that have got nothing to do with anything that John's posted. So you can't find the thing he's even posted. So all I'm saying is, you know, if you really want to get involved, create a chat, create a channel, and get the stuff out there, even if you're repeating what other people are doing, which is basically what we're doing. We're just repeating stuff that we've learned from other people who've started this. Be proactive. Making comments is not proactive. You're just preaching to the choir here.
I think you've got your point across.
Did I get my point across there?
Can you please stop sitting on the fence about that?
It's just other people to hear it. If other people hear it, or I could write it in text form, but I'm not going to. So.
I do like it when you get wound up. I almost feel like I want to put something on there on purpose to antagonise you.
Yeah, but you see, it won't, because I know you do it on purpose.
I know.
But anyway, so I mean, I think we've really basically come to the end of our 2 hours, mate. 2 hours, 11 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be this is definitely going to be a 2-parter.
Yeah. I'm surprised it was only 2 hours. Can you hear me wandering about now? I'm sorry if this is still on recording, but it's probably quite funny. My friend Vicky is coming in a minute. And I've locked the door because I do lock my door when I'm recording shady podcasts.
In case the agents come and take you away. Men in Black come and take you away.
Won't be long now, I'm sure.
Well, anyway, so look, anybody who's listened in, we warbled on again, but thanks for listening in. Keep the faith. Keep pushing forward, understand what's going on. Big thanks to my little mate there, Sarah, for listening and having a laugh again, as always.
Thank you for having me.
And we've got we'll have plenty more to come, but I'll put some links in the description again. This is probably going to go out on Odyssey anyway. I don't think this would hold any water on YouTube. I think we'd definitely get pulled on this.
It'd be funny to try and put it on, see how long it goes on for.
I've got to do little short intros to send to John, little short intros.
Yeah.
And I'll make the intro up for this anyway. So thanks, Sarah, and I'll stop recording now. We'll catch you all later. Bye.
Bye-bye.